Okay, let's see here. It is 11:01, not 10:01, but 11:01. So, I say in order to be a good steward of everybody's time that we should go ahead and get started. People are still filing in, but we have 1 hour, and y'all are so gracious to join us with your hour. So I want to make sure Jackie gets all the time that she needs and leave time for question and answers. So I just want to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us today to the webinar on how to prepare for website design with Jackie Jones. I am Kim Lee. I am the founder and CEO of Forge. We are a co-working space. We are located downtown in the Pizitz building. We are above the food hall. So we are a membership-based business for entrepreneurs, small business owners, freelancers, and now we are starting to see a flood of remote workers who need a place to work. But we love to provide education for small business owners and entrepreneurs. We love to help you grow your business. And one of our favorite guests to have leading these webinars, teaching us all of her wisdom is Jackie. Jackie is a member at Forge, so we get to learn from her every day, but we are so thankful that she is here today to share with us. And she is just the best, and you will all, I can guarantee that you will walk away today with at least 3 practical things that you can implement this afternoon if you are disciplined to sit down for just a little bit. But I first wanted to, this is a lesson that I learned from Jackie, is to have commercials in your webinars. So she is a fantastic marketer. But I did, in case you are working from home and you have an office and you're not used to having to try to find somewhere different to work besides the office that's provided to you by your company, we do have space. It's a membership, it's a month-to-month membership. And so if your office is closed for a short amount of time and you have realized working from home till the end of the year is just not going to work, we have got space for you. So we would love for you to come and take a tour, see what it means to work in a co-working space. Things look a little different now than they did. As you can see a little bit in these pictures, we do have masks on, our tables are spread out, so it is a safe, socially distanced place to work. So we'd love to have you join us at Forge if you're looking for a different alternative from just working from your kitchen table or in your basement, or your kids are now at home doing school. And then I just want to let you know about one more event that we have coming up next Friday. This is the second part of a series. You did not have to attend the first part in order for this to make sense. It is celebrating women who pivot. So it's a panel discussion with Jen Ryan from Blue Root, Tiffany Martin from Ignite Cycle, and Tanisha Sims Summers from Naughty But Nice Kettle Corn. And it's just a time for us to come and hear what these amazing women have done to keep their business going relevant during the times of COVID. They have all done amazing things while managing their household, their families, and it's just a time of encouragement and hearing other people and getting support from other women in our community. So that is what I've got, and now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jackie.
Hello, hello. I am going to steal the screen from you because I'm a thief like that. Let's see here. Boom. How did that work?
Let's see.
What do you all see?
It worked. Yep, it worked.
Okay, we have to make sure before we move on because you never know with me. So hi everyone, I'm Jackie. I'm going to try to keep this as simple and straight to the point as possible. We're just going to talk about basically how to get ready for website design. And so I want to give you first an idea of why this even came up. One, I'm a little random, but in all transparency, the truth of the matter is that I, even as a marketer, never, like up until just like last month, never kept my website up to date. just because I'm always working. And so it's hard. You've never seen a surgeon operate on themselves. Let's just be honest, people, okay? So you can stop judging me now, like at this point. But what I do realize though, as a person who is on the other side of the table of doing website design and development for people, is that they just don't really know where to start a lot of times. Or what to do or what to ask for. And so that's kind of why we're here. And this is going to be for you, whether you are outsourcing your design or you're planning to try to take it on yourself. And I know that's odd to hear someone who does that for a living say, hey, if you take it on for yourself, that's okay. But you'll learn very quickly, if you don't already know me, that I am big on people doing what they can with what they have, even if that means not doing it with me. You have to do what's best for you and your brand, your growth. And if you're going to do it yourself, I need you to be stellar. Okay. All right. Glad we had that talk. All right, so now let me let you know that I don't do this alone, contrary to popular belief. Megan works on our programs. Brittany is our administrative support. That's me, Jackie. I used this picture because this is what the flyer had, and I knew my hair wouldn't look this great, and I wanted you to know we were the same person. Okay. Vincent is our newest addition to our team. He is a web developer. And he is actually based in Georgia, and so is Derek, strangely. All my guys are in Georgia, and he is in our graphics. So that's the team. Now, just really quick, I get this out of the way. If you have a cell phone nearby, I'm just going to tell you right now, it would behoove you to just have it out to point at your screen if you're not watching on your cell phone. I'm going to try to make any contact information or any website links as easy as possible. And so just so that you know what we do at 1 Degree, we're a digital marketing company. We do outsource services, but essentially we do it for you, or we help you understand how to do it. So you can outsource 1 Degree, or you can become a member of the Academy, which is newly launched. Both of those QR, I keep pointing to my screen, but y'all can't see my finger. That's so hard because, you know, I'm used to being a normal human. So those QR codes will take you to either place, 1 Degree or Elevation Academy. I'm stalling so that you can pull your phone out and then scan the QR. Okay, you should be good by now. Now, today's goals, let's jump right into it. This picture is more a reminder of my own goal, which is keeping my tiny human alive. I just sometimes need that reminder of my goals. But today's goal, which today has 2 O's in it, no judging, we're going to discuss a couple things: perspective on all of this, preparation, process, and paying, which is very important as well. And this is just going to be our journey to our new and improved website. Again, whether you're doing it or you're outsourcing someone to do it. Yeah, let's just go ahead and ask you not to judge me on any spelling. Okay. So there's 2 different things that the first things first, okay? There's website design and there's website development. And because websites have become so common, most people don't realize that there is a difference. Now, a classic developer would hate that about you if they knew that. They are the coders, like they can go in and code it and change it. And they're pretty much the source of all of the easier platforms that we get as just normal people who are not coders and HTML and CSS people and all that kind of stuff. They make it easy for us, but they do get a little bothered if you don't know the difference, or that there is a difference between design and development. So the best way for me to explain this is to kind of break it into 2 pieces. Website design is like your architect, right? So if you have a website designer, they're your architect, you know, that comes in, they draw it out, their graphic design, they're laying it out, they're telling you what beautiful colors you're going to use. They're telling you what kind of typography you might use. So maybe you have a font that you're using, but you're going to need more than one maybe. Like, they're going to tell you all that pretty layout kind of stuff. Button design, mock-ups, storyboards, like how is this going to really be beautiful? So it's really more about the aesthetic when it comes to website design itself. And so that's what they do. Now, designers can be developers, right? They may be really good at that, but they also may be really good at the construction part of it. Some people can't do both. The trick here for you all is to know who you're dealing with. And we'll get more into why Because even with a website designer or developer, you may still need somebody to help you with the strategy of it all. Your website designer may make look whatever you want to look pretty. Your website developer may make that come alive and function. But if you don't have any kind of strategy as to what you want this all to do and accomplish, then they're just making you pretty stuff. So your website developer is like the construction of the building, right? So you have your architect to draw it out how pretty it's going to be and how wonderful. And your construction person comes in and basically builds it for you. They may have to do the coding, make sure it functions, make sure it's responsive. And that means that no matter what size screen it's on, so if you pull up your website on your cell phone and show someone, or put it up on the TV in the conference room at Forge, you want it to be able to adjust to those different sizes. And that's extremely important these days, because what we know about consumers and just normal human beings is that we look at a lot of things on smaller screens. And then your developer is going to get into the processing. And so that's kind of the difference. And again, there are a lot of people who say, hey, I can do your website. The question I would have for them first is, cool, are you a designer or are you a developer? And if they pause, say, oh, okay, well, tell me which part of the puzzle you're going to do. I'm not saying to shame them, but I do want you to show up front that you know what you're talking about. Now, the question is, where's the overlap, right? So you have design and development. And again, many designers can develop. You have a lot of developers who could care less about making it look all trendy and pretty, and like they're like, does it work though, right? Some of them, not everyone. But this is why platforms exist. So your WordPresses and your Squarespace, Wix and Weebly and all the GoDaddy and all these different third parties that have these platforms where you can drag and drop and do all. That's why that kind of exists, because you sometimes need a little bit of both. And if you're not a developer yourself, or the person you're working with is not a developer, WordPress backends, all of these tools make it a lot easier for you to be able to do both things in one place. So that's why they exist. So I hope you understand at this point. And if we were in person, I would be like trying to see heads nodding, but I can't right now. So I'm going to trust that you're with me, okay? All right, now we're going to pause right here for some things that usually come at the end, which is if you're looking for 1 degree in these social media streets, this is where you can find us. I'm getting this out of the way now. So please pull out your mobile device if you are not using it, and you can find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. Scan, 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 follow, 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 like. Okay. Moving on. That's that commercials that Kim said that she learned from me. Don't worry, they get better. All right, so let's talk about preparation, right? Which is kind of the bulk of why we're here. So you decide, hey, it's time for me to redo or get a new website. Great. How much fun is this going to be? That's sarcasm. All right, so first things first is, well, thank you, Kim, for nodding with me. First things first is when you sit down to talk to someone, and this is just like, hey, I'm interested, before you get to that conversation, this is what I really want you to do first for yourself. Because I know that the natural inclination is to run out and like search WordPress themes for life coaches, right? And then we see all these beautiful things and we're like, yes, this is what I'm going to use. I am going to challenge you to take another approach. And that approach is to start with, do you have your brand style stuff together, right? Create a file that has your logos in it, different versions of your logo, and not just different file types, but different colors. Do you have your full color logo? Do you have an all black? Do you have an all white? And this is not only just good practice to be in general, but also when you do get ready to start this process, if you're working with someone else, or even if you're doing it yourself, you're just a lot more organized. So you have your logo files, you know, different versions of your logo. And some people have a main logo and then like a symbol, and like have all of that. Whatever it is for you, have all of it. Then you want to have your brand hex numbers. Hex numbers are those numbers with the number sign in front that you put in to change the color to make it whatever you want it to be. If you've not decided these things, have your style guide. If you don't have this kind of stuff yet, then maybe this is a step to address before you get to the website. Because what we do not want to do is get into the website process and then realize, you know what, I don't really like these colors, or I need a new logo. your website is going to be like the core of your digital marketing presence. All roads lead to your website. And so it's important to go ahead and have that together. And what this does for you in the website development process is say, hey, can you do my website? Yes. Okay, great. Here are my style guidelines. This might have pictures of stuff that you like, just so they can see the style of picture. Maybe you like clean stuff like how this is here, or maybe you like really businessy stuff. You like word clouds and, you know, people shaking hands in blue suits and stuff like that. Whatever it is, you have to give that guidance to anyone who's working with you. And so you've got to start with having it for yourself. In that process, you're going to see other pictures, other things that you like that will be helpful later on. So you can start a file, like you're going to need banner pictures and, you know, other little filler pictures here and there, a contact us picture. And maybe you don't have all that stuff yet yourself. So take some time, get some brand style stuff done, get some guidance, have that ready to go. All right. Next, priority through copy. Again, the natural thing is to run out, find a design that you like, and then try to write according to the design. I'm going to challenge you to turn that again around the complete opposite way, because you can't tell anyone else what is priority for your website to convey if you have not already fleshed that out. So write the copy. Does not matter how long or short it is. What matters is that you are getting the priorities out there, how you define certain things. So if you're talking about, let's take Elevation Academy that I just launched. If I'm talking about community, how do we define community? Community means different things to different people. So certain definitions, or if you're doing services, what do you think social media management is? Some people see that very differently than others, which is why some people look at the price like, what do you mean? Maybe they don't understand the definition. So you want to write out that copy, your story, those bios, definitions, service descriptions, product descriptions. You don't want to wait until you're filling in your website to start thinking about this, which is legitimately, if you do that, you are not alone. Even I have done that. Trust me, I'm probably going to do it later today actually as well, but it's not my website. So stop judging me. Okay. Keywords for your industry, buzzwords, all those things that you know you're going to want to incorporate into your site. Prioritize the copy first. Why, Jackie? Because then if you bring that to me or anyone as a website designer or developer, I can look at what you're trying to say and see, okay, she's going to need space for a lot of words, or okay, it's pretty short word. It's going to be very image heavy. Like it's going to have an influence on what the design works like. If you don't have that, or at least an idea of it, I'm not saying you have to have every word written. You can't write anything else after you get started. That's not the point. Don't be dramatic. What I am saying though, is that you want to have as much of that heavy lifting done as possible. What I did with our newly launched 1 Degree site is I spent time just really trying to say, how do I want to define services? How do I get this out here short and straight to the point? How do I give people an idea of what the process is, which takes us to audience process. Now, this is just a pet peeve of mine, and I've done workshops on this as well. You've got to understand what you're asking your audience to do. If you are not able to tell them which way to go, both on your website and in their life with interacting with you as a brand, then it's going to be very difficult for you to continue to see repeated success. Why do I say that? Because just like when you get in a car and you're trying to go somewhere that you're interested in going, you want to go, but you've never been, you turn on a GPS and say, okay, well, get me there. It is your job as a business owner to give people the directions. It is not their job to wander around until they figure out how to give you their money. Pretty sure I say this in every workshop I ever do. So here, have you mapped out what you will be asking your audience to do and where you want them to go? What does this have to do with the web design process? Well, this helps us understand where we're going to need buttons, where those buttons going to lead. This will help us understand if there are third-party integrations. This will help us understand what needs to go first on what page. Is there an order to this that we need to understand? And so if you're imagining this in your mind, I hope that you're starting to see, oh, okay, it's all starting to come together. What it looks like, my brand style, I have words, maybe it's some pages are long, others are short. And now I know I need buttons to go here, there, and the other place. right? This is going to make sure you don't just have a pretty website, but also have an effective website. So try to lead with copy, try to lead with what the process is. The other thing I want you to do in preparation is to make sure that if you know, as the business owner or as the person who's working on the website, if you are aware that this website right now is only step one and maybe a 5-step process or a 3-step process, please make that known to whoever you work with to help you find what design you're going to customize or build. Why does that matter? Because if you don't, let's say, for instance, I wanted to do Elevation Academy and I put up this great website, but that website was incapable of having member logins, right? Okay, well, that sucks. Okay. Now I have to go and pick up everything and design a new site or look for a third-party integration and hope it works out. You may not be using the function right now, but as many things as you can kind of plan into that decision and just say, okay, cool, I have this little membership part. I'm not ready to use it yet, but absolutely, you know, when it's time, it's going to be there, right? So do that, save yourself the trouble. Excuse me while I sip from my Elevation Academy mug. All right, sorry. Y'all, I am such a marketer. All right, so do make sure that you're thinking about the future. And if you don't know that, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying predict, it's 2020. I am not saying know the future entirely. No one knows that clearly. But I am saying that if you're already aware that you have some other things that you're going to need your website to do, keep that in mind as you prepare, as you look for designs, as you begin to customize. Try to answer some of those big questions up front. Save yourself some time and energy on the back end. And now it's time for a commercial. So on September 20th, we will be doing the I'll Do It Myself series called Make It Make Sense. You know, it's like a real commercial. So if you have your mobile device and you would like to go to register, you can do that with that QR code. Be happy to do that. We're going to talk about how your website, which we're talking about today, your social media and your email marketing work together in harmony. If you're a member of the Academy, you don't pay anything extra. If you are not, you pay $29 and you come in and we do a workshop. How wonderful. I think you've had plenty of time to scan that code by now. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about the process, right, of designing your site. Okay, so we have, first things first, as a digital marketer, I had to put this in bold. Digital marketing professionals have workloads. What that means is, and the very first point here says, please respect your designers or developers' process. Most creative people, because website design is a creative thing, right? Sometimes people are trying to make it flip upside down and be beautiful and hang and sparkle glitter on your bio, whatever they're trying to do, it's a slightly creative process. However, whatever they define as their process, if that gets off, then that means that the interaction is getting off somewhere. So please try to respect their process. If they say, I need your copy by the whatever time, try to have the copy. If you can't, communicate that so that they can adjust. Try to respect their process. Doing so will only help you in the end, trust me, because then you don't have to worry about a lot of ups and downs. And one of the things that I want you to know is that, you know, a lot of times some of the hiccups in getting your website done has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your developer and everything to do with the fact that technology doesn't really like us like that. It doesn't like humans that much. I'm pretty sure of that. And so sometimes you run into these bumps and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you build processes that allow you time for that. Respect the process. Seek to understand what your part is in that process. So if I say step one, we're going to have a discovery meeting. Step two, we're going to look for designs once, you know, we've gotten all those preparation things out of the way. Step three, I'm going to lay out the pages. I need you to approve and say, yes, I like the way it's laid out. And then I'll put your copy in. That means that you have to have copy somewhere in there. You need to have words and images and whatever I've asked you for by the time we get there. That's the part you play. So if you are outsourcing to someone, please seek to understand what part you play in it getting from start to finish. One of the things I know I've been through and a lot of people have been through is I'm waiting on my website developer. I'm waiting on my website developer. And a lot of times they feel like they're waiting on you. So just try to understand up front what part you play in the process. Please hold them to their process. If they say they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, When you get to 4 and they try to go to 5, go, you said we were going to 7, so I need you to skip on over. Hold them to what they said they were going to do. And then ask questions about and updates on the process. So if something throws it all out of whack, let's say your hosting won't act right, your URL is being weird, and now you're like a month off, it happens. That sounds dramatic, but it's pretty normal, unfortunately. The question is that, you might want to say, hey, I know we're kind of off on the timeline we originally started with. Can we pause and kind of update that timeline? I want to make sure I understand. This is a very, very important thing that I've learned, not because I'm so great, but because I've messed up so much. You learn these things the hard way. And if you, like me, are in website design and development, and it is your true desire to grow your company and not just be freelancing and not worry about whether you have repeat customers or treat your customer relationships a certain way, if you're not concerned about that, then cool, you learn the hard lesson, you move on. If you're like me, you figure that out, you better your process, you learn how to communicate a little better. And so as a customer, as a client, on the other side, if you know that that's a struggle because there's so many moving pieces, if you can seek to understand your part, ask the questions, ask for the updates, ask for all of that, then you have a better chance of getting where you're trying to get at the end. So if you're outsourcing, here's kind of a basic process. This is not like, my process has 10 steps, right? I finally figured it's on a nice little pretty PDF. It's red and black and white, if you can imagine. All right, so usually step 1 is, okay, I want a website, cool, what do you need, right? I know everybody's heard this. Okay, well, what are you looking for? What do you need? Because first we want to say, well, how much do you charge? And they're like, well, what do you need? So this is where your preparation comes in, and you can say, this is the kind of function that I want. This is why I gave that preparation list a couple slides ago, because it helps you better understand how to answer this question and get a quote that's appropriate. How do you need it to function? What third-party integrations do you need? So if you have a Calendly calendar link you're going to use, or you want to embed your MailChimp form or whatever, already kind of have an idea. I want a pop-up. I want to just pull this page straight off of Lead Pages. If there's anything that is outside of your website, when you say this is what I'm looking for, that's a good time to know that answer. Now, again, this is not to say that you are perfect and you will know all the answers, but this is to say that you are smart and you probably know most of them. What style you're looking for, this is a good time to have benchmarks. And benchmarking is just going and finding other sites that you like that give your developer or the person that you were talking to some understanding of what you like, what you're looking for, and what your expectations or desired outcome really looks like. And then your budget and your desired timeline. Now, I understand as a small business owner, budget is a very nasty word. It's nasty. However, it is also very important that you go ahead and say upfront what you feel like you can handle. Now, that's not to say that you can't say, hey, well, I'm trying to stay within $1,500. I have a little bit of wiggle room, but honestly, $1,500 is really where I'm trying to stay. If they know that up front, that hopefully will lead them to say, okay, I see what you're trying to accomplish. Give me a few days to figure out if I'm able to build this in that budget where I can, not use a ton of hours, not sink my own ship trying to make it happen. If I can, I'll come back with step 2, which is the quote or proposal. If I cannot, then unfortunately I'll say, hey, I couldn't stay within that, but this is what the lowest I can figure it out with. That's an ideal conversation from the beginning. So then what you wanted to do. If there are any third-party integrations, here's some examples of what I like. This is the budget I'm trying to stay within if possible. And this is the timeline, like I need it next week. Please don't say that. Okay, glad we had that talk. Step 2 usually means that they're going to come back with a quote or proposal, negotiations. Oh my, I'm so dramatic, y'all. Itemized proposals are best. Now, this is kind of me shedding a little light on the process from this side of I do this for a living. If you aren't getting an itemized proposal, it's important to try to ask. So let's say they come back and say, hey, this website's going to be $5,000. If that made you shudder in your chair wherever you're sitting, I'm so sorry. It's a really normal number. But If you look at the itemized thing and see, oh, okay, I won't have to pay for anything else. I won't have to pay for hosting, a URL, SSL certificate. They're going to take care of buying the WordPress thing we're going to customize. They're going to set up that. They're going to make sure that all of this stuff is itemized and you really get a chance to see, hey, this is what you're covering. Try to see if they can break it down for you so you can better understand what you're spending your money on. If they're just saying, hey, your budget is not going to handle it, so this is what I'll do it for, just take it and walk away quietly. Also, understand what a final product looks like. And so they give you a quote or a proposal. You want to know if at the end of this process, you're going to hand me a website. Does this mean you're going to show me how to use it? Are you going to maintain it for me? Is this like the beginning of a relationship? How much is that? Is it additional for you to come in and update stuff? What if I want you to post my blogs? What if I have the conversation of what a final product really is so that you understand upfront what the expectation is, not only for you, but for the person who is working for you. And then you have the actual process of execution. And that's just to each his own. Because again, everybody is very different. Some people are very like clockwork about theirs. Other people are like, hey, we get it when we get it. Some people are like struggling and fighting to just get it all done. I'm talking about myself. Okay. Now let's talk about the process if you are doing it yourself. Notice the first step is the same, all right? You still need to know all the same things for yourself, including your budget. And that's included because in step 2, we're going to talk about the cost you have to consider even if you are doing it yourself. Then also in step 1, though, before we move on, I've added to this particular list a knowledge/info deficit. And what I mean by that is that you may know what you want and you may have decided to take it on yourself. But if you do not know what you are doing, then you may have a deficit in information and knowledge. That means that somewhere along the way, you're going to spend either more money or more time. You're going to spend one of the two. So you need to understand upfront, help yourself set a realistic expectation by saying, okay, I'm going into this realizing I have never tried to make a website, or the last time I did it sucked really bad. I hated it, but I can't afford to just be throwing out $3,000 for a website. So I'm just going to have to put in the time. But there, maybe you're looking for resources for education. Maybe you're looking for tutorials. This just helps you understand what you need. We move to step 2 and you say, okay, what is this going to cost me? I got to pay for hosting. So most people don't know all these little pieces. So if you have, for instance, one of the most popular is GoDaddy, or if you use Bluehost. So think of this as you're building a house. Your hosting is your land that you build it on, right? This gives you a space to build your wonderful digital empire. Your URL, which is your .com, .ed, .gov, well, you can't have .gov, but .org, .edu, .yo, it's a lot of those. That's your address, right, to your house. So you have the space in your hosting, you have the URL is your address. Your SSL certificate is a security thing. So think of that as your security for your home. That's going to make sure that you can take personal information and people can feel safe and secure. Graphic image support. So the website is the house. I don't know if y'all figured that out. Do I need to say that out loud? So hosting, land, URL, address, website is the house itself. Your SSL certificate is like your home security, armed. And then you want to know, are you going to have to pay for any stock photos, or maybe you need photo shoots because you don't have all the pictures that you want right now. So that's going to be a new cost for you. If you're going to do it yourself, but you decide, hey, I'm still going to need a little bit of guidance, so I'm going to get a consultation, that's going to cost you. And then you have to include the cost of your time. And I put this here that even though if you're not a business owner or a person who charges in their life by the hour, that's fine. But I need you to understand the value that it's having for your time. So whatever you do for a living, if you're not doing that, but you're doing your website, then you're missing some money somewhere, right? So put a value on your time just so that you can have an understanding. You can put that in hours if you want to, but have an understanding that it's still a cost. Then also understand what a final product will look like. Just like you did with an outsourced person, you have to decide, I am done at this point. Why am I saying that? Because many people have started their website themselves and they get the home page done. They're like, look, I am so over this. Y'all just scroll down and click whatever's not here, whatever. Try to decide up front before you're giving up. If you decide to give up, what the final product looks like. I will be done when I have my homepage, a blog, an about us, a list of services, and a contact page. When all of those things are finished, every link work, like define it in as much specifics as you can. Help yourself from the beginning be able to set a realistic goal for yourself. Third step for you from start to finish, I encourage you to backwards plan. And so I've written this backwards. What final date are you trying to be done, right? Go ahead and decide that. When are you trying to place your copy? So if you remember earlier in the outsourced version of this, I was talking about most times we want to lay out your design and then put the words in later because we don't like to read your word. Like it's a copy and paste. Unless you've paid someone to do the copy editing or write the stuff for you, which is not as common, I'm not reading it. I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste it. If something's wrong, you would have to tell me because I didn't read it, right? So usually copy is the last thing to go. So when do you want to be putting in the words? And then back up another date. When do you want to have decided what your page layout is all looking like, how to lay out pretty, and back up and decide when are you going to do all that preparation work that we talked about a couple slides ago. So if we run that the right way, it looks like, when am I going to do all this preparation stuff? Get my brand style guide, get my logo, get all that stuff done, understand what the process is, know what the future is, boom, foundation. All right, I'm going to go find something, I'm going to customize, but I'm going to lay the pages out the way that I like them. I'm not going to worry about words yet, but now I got it all laid out and I'll find the pictures and it'll all be fine. Boom, that's done. All right, I'm going to put my words in. Suddenly it's all come alive. So this will be words, this will be images, and then final date, right? So that's how that would work if you ran it the right way. But I encourage you to plan it backwards because this is going to reveal to you if you're unrealistic about what your final date is. If you say I'm launching this on October 1st, more power to you. So yeah. All right. So budgeting, I did want to pause here and talk about money just because I know that because websites are so important and we look at 2020 and we realize, I tell people all the time, it was like a welcome to the world, into my normal world of digital life. But we learned in 2020, I said this in a blog recently, that whether you were using your site or not using it, it was exposed in 2020. Everybody went to online.com, everything. If y'all hear my son singing about fruit in the background, just ignore him. All right, so 3 things here. The abyss. It's just one of those things with website developers. So I want to tell you not to get frustrated if you hear someone say, well, it starts at $2,000, but I'm not sure until I get in there. It's like plumbing. You sometimes just don't know until you get behind the walls. And what I mean by that is if you already have a site up, but then you get in there and you realize, oh, your hosting's about to expire. Oh, your URL is this. You don't even have an SSL certificate. These little things might start to add up. And that's kind of like when you're buying a home or something is, new, and you just don't realize it's there until you get behind the walls. That can happen. So when you set your budget for yourself, I strongly recommend that you set the budget that you want to spend and have a little bit for incidentals. Hopefully you never have to use it. But if someone comes back to you and say, hey, I didn't realize that this was like this, it'll cost you this much more for my time, or you need to pay for this third-party thing to upgrade or update or whatever, then you don't feel like you're going into a hole that you weren't prepared to go in. So if you have $2,500 to spend, when you have this conversation, you tell them, hey, I have $1,800, $1,850 to work with, and you have a little bit of buffer there. If you don't use it, great party for you and your team after you've gotten a new website. The second one here is the shame factor. Let me just tell you now, never be ashamed to talk about money, just in general, especially as it comes to business. Do not be afraid to say what budget you're working with. If you feel like all you have is $500 to work with and you say that up front, either they can help you or they cannot. Save yourself the time. Do not feel any level of shame about that. Also, don't be unrealistic about having to sacrifice your luxuries. If you can't afford a certain thing, and they come back and say, hey, I can stay within your budget, but you're not going to be able to, be embedding all kinds of live videos and blah, 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 like you wanted to, or build that custom program thing you wanted that have Excel spreadsheet that turned colors when people hovered over it. I won't have the time to do that with this budget. You might have to let it go. All right. Also, don't be afraid to ask for payment plans, right? Like just don't be afraid to do that, because honestly, if hey, I can have $2,500, just not all at once, say that up front. Say, okay, cool. You know what? I think I can pull off 2,500. However, I really need to pay a 500 at a time. Can you work with me? All you can do is ask. So I want to make sure that you know that even though you're asking for a service, you're absolutely okay asking people those questions and getting realistic answers. Do not be afraid to do that. I do want to say this before I go, which is soon. I know there are some questions. A lot of people know that I do a lot of social media work. I do a lot of social media things. How does this relate to your website? Please remember that all roads lead to your site. I said that earlier. You probably just listened to me and was like, man, she is so energetic. For what reason? Drinks coffee. But remember that as great as you can be on social media, and this is why I'm doing the Make It Make Sense workshop. You can be doing all the things on social media and still feel like nobody goes to your site and buys your thing or reads your thing or does your thing. All roads lead back to this space. And so this space has to be working as best as you can make it. And I just want to remind you of that as you build it or you work with someone to build your site. So if you just don't want to scan those QR codes that I had up a little while ago, for social media purposes, I'll go back to that screen in a moment. If you're looking to contact me or anyone else at One Degree, feel free to look at that information. I saw someone ask if there's going to be a recording. Usually there is one because I put it in my little YouTube list, Jackie Teaches. So grateful. So that's the information there. And I will run back to this social media. Actually, I'm gonna just pause right here. I'm gonna pause right here. Come on through, Kim. Hey, you're on mute. That's the 2020 statement. Like that's like the quote of the year. You're on mute.
I have had so many technical difficulties today. I want you to tell us a little bit more about Elevation Academy and why people should join and what they would expect.
Sure. So Elevation Academy, and that's a really good question, especially in this space, because what Kim knows about me that I think a few people know is that y'all hear my son? I don't fully expect everyone to be in a position to be ready to like give money to a marketing company. It's just not a real thing. And even though I want to build my company, there are companies who are ready and willing to spend the money, right? However, I'm gonna mute just a second so I can scream to my husband.
This is real life, y'all.
Okay, so as I was saying, he was just getting louder and louder. I'm sorry. And he's 4, and he's the cutest child. I would totally let him get away with it. But so the point of Elevation Academy is so that people have an ongoing marketing support space, community of entrepreneurs, because they're essentially going to be handling the marketing themselves. And they may be small business owners or entrepreneurs. They may just be doing the marketing for their job. And, that's just a part of what they do. But I wanted to create a space for people to be able to log in, see courses. So the workshops become mini courses that people can buy, like one-off if that's all they want, or they would always have access to it if they were members. I do monthly checklists. I think this month's was auditing your social media and email and your website. I do monthly challenges to help you go through and fix some things. I do a monthly resource list. This month was about email marketing, different platforms. We have a private Facebook group so that we can talk and chat. I can answer questions. I give some Canva templates if you feel like you're not the most design happy person in the world and you need a couple little Instagram things, that's there, but it's a community. So all of that happens for the low cost of $24.99 a month or $269 for a year, which is not a ton. But I'm there to try to help people, help themselves. Because I care if you want to give me all your money, please do. But I do understand that everybody's not ready to do that. And that's okay. I still want to be you're a marketing person though. I still want to help, and my team does too. So we've built all of this to help people help themselves where they are. And if you're ready to outsource, this QR code on the right side of your screen, I'm trying to see how y'all are seeing it. That one's for you. We're happy to do it for you. But if you're like, look, I have more time than money right now. I need to be able to figure this out, get my Instagram together, do whatever. Elevation Academy is definitely the way.
So let me ask you a question. How important do you think, if somebody's like, yeah, totally outsourcing it, I know I can't do it, like, no way, or don't have the time, I'm willing to pay or whatever. How important do you think it is for those people to still understand the fundamentals and the basics, like, instead of just outsourcing it all? Like, I mean,
they have got to, and you know, this is such a good question, because I think that the convenience of, I have the money and I'm not about to sit, I know I don't know it, here's the money, go do it, sometimes blinds people from, first, you could be getting more for your money if you understood. Like, that preparation slide of things is half the battle. Like, a lot of people, I spend more time helping people almost develop their business because they haven't done that piece, to be able to just hand it to me and say, hey, you have some templates available? Like, I have $1,000. I have $5,000 templates right now for websites. If someone was like, I have $1,000, to go, hey, pick one of these and we'll make it yours. Boom, done. You've already done the heavy lifting. And so if you just understand, and sometimes this comes in just a consultation, if you just have an understanding of what you're looking for, know what you're supposed to be asking about, understand what part you could be doing yourself, then you could just be using your money more efficiently, which, as a business owner, I don't care how much money you have, you don't want to spend it if you don't have to. Also, you can't hold people accountable for what you're paying for if you don't know what you're asking. If you have no clue whether they made it responsive or not, if you have no clue what an SSL certificate is, if you have no clue what SEO is, not like deep knowledge, but have some understanding so that you can go and test it or have someone else look at it, get a second. If you don't have a clue, you're just giving money away. And if that is you, please use the QR code to give your money away to me. I'm happy to take that for you. But it's really important. Understanding is the one thing that no one can take away from you. And so they can take your money, but if you understand, you can get your money back. Mm-hmm. But understanding is something they cannot take away from you and run off with. So please know, please try to have some basic knowledge of what you're getting into. And maybe that's a little $150 consultation to be able to frame the conversations better. Maybe you get a couple options and you do a consultation to have someone help you decide. Whatever it is, try to have some basic knowledge so that you know what you're getting, so that you know that you're getting a good value, and then your life is better.
Okay, I have another question. What can you tell us, like, what we should be expecting to pay for websites? Sure. Say not a developed website, like you were going to build one in Squarespace or WordPress for somebody. Like, how can people be prepared to even think about what they're going to spend for what they want?
You know, that's a really, really hard question. And I say that because the only reason I say that is mostly because, you know, just like in any industry, people charge differently. And so you're going to run into people who say, hey, I can do your website for $500. That was me at some point. And what I realized very quickly is that I only have, time is finite, y'all. And this is the thing. If I was making cell phones, I can make 100 million more cell phones, right? And then just charge $10 and just make more cell phones, right? Time doesn't work like that. And web development is time. And what essentially happens is that as people, freelancers, as people begin to work on their, you know, in this business, in this industry, they realize, if I don't charge more money, I'm literally sinking my own ship. And so what I try to do is try to give people the idea that try to gather up at least $1,000. And I say that just to say, and that, in my honest opinion, is on the low end, only because if that can include your hosting for a year, getting your URL, having that SSL certificate, the customization of a WordPress or a Squarespace site, it may be very basic, but that means that you can get handed a website that doesn't need you to go in and do anything else immediately or pay for anything else. It may not be the best thing in the world, it may not be where you're trying to go, but it'll get you started. And then maybe you go back to that person 6 months later and say, hey, I have another $1,000. Can we do phase 2 and upgrade it and make it do whatever? Like, you know, and so it comes down to the person who's doing it. But I try to tell people, try to have at least $1,000 in the plan somewhere to work with. And if you want to go and get your own hosting and all that, you can. There are cheap, let me pause and say this. There are cheap places to do that. Please know that the person working on your website probably curses you out when they're having to call Namecheap and call, because you have to call these places to get all this stuff connected in these millions of places. And a lot of times their customer service is not US based, or even if it is US based, like GoDaddy has a lot of US, if they're working from home. I've had so many people, I love GoDaddy, first of all, y'all, but when we were in quarantine life, you could tell these people were still in the bed, like, you know, and so you have to call all these different places and try to get those things to work together. And that also takes time. And so if they don't know that going in, and we've given you a price of $1,500, but we just spent 20 hours trying to chase down Namecheap and all these different hosting places that only charged you $5 for 5 years of hosting, but they won't answer the phone, then we could not, it's like the plumbing. We didn't know we were gonna have to be on the phone for 20 hours trying to put that together. And so it's really important to just try to remember that kind of stuff and say, go to the person, ask them what their process is, tell them what host you have, tell them all of that up front, and then say, well, I have $1,000. And maybe they can say to you, okay, that's fine. What I need you to do though is call Namecheap, call so-and-so. Maybe they'll put that part on you, and they can say, and then I can do my part in $1,000. But if I have to do all of this as well, you're gonna need more money. So though, knowing those kinds of things and having those conversations and being able to go into the conversation, knowing what you have already, knowing where you're trying to go, all that preparation work. I almost want to go back to that slide just for, oh, wrong mouse, for a hot second. All this list right here, knowing this, having this stuff, and then also knowing who your host is, knowing your logins, having all that kind of stuff already makes the conversation so different when it's time for a quote or a proposal. So try to have that together.
Okay, here's another question. Do you do logo design, and what's the cost? I have a feeling the cost is kind of the same answer.
Yeah, well, so yes and no. And so let me tell you what I mean by that. Does 1 Degree do logo design? Yes. And I have to learn how, when people say you, because I'm usually the person they're talking to, my life has so long been Team Jackie on 1 Degree life. So yes, 1 Degree does logo design. Jackie cannot do logo design herself anymore, just because somebody has to do all the actual business stuff. And so yes, that's a thing. Logos currently start at $750. I know that sounds like a lot, but I promise it's not. So Kim's like, it's not. But they start at $750. And that just really depends on how simple or how complex of a logo you're trying to have. So it can go up from there, but that's what quotes and stuff and consultations are for. But
so tell me, why does it cost $750, Jackie? That does seem high.
You're so funny. Oh, devil's advocate. No, so because time is a thing. Yeah. And you know, one thing also, and I think maybe too subconsciously, that's why I had to say yes, 1 Degree does it. I think that, you know, in this industry, there are so many freelancers. And I think that there is, both for people who are in the industry and people who are customers of the industry of design and graphic design and website design and all of that, what you find is that there are a lot of people who are freelancers who are saying that they are companies. And they are legally, they're companies, but they're not, they're the person doing the work. And this has been the ongoing struggle of my life, is that there was everything that my company does, I can do myself. I built a company around my own skill set. However, in order for me to have more hours in a day, I have to have more people, which means that I have to pay those people, whether I do somebody's logo or not. And so when people are paying a company to do their logo, sometimes that's very different from asking a person to do their logo. And so if you're like, look, I got 250, then you're probably looking for a freelancer, and that's okay. If you're going to go to a company who is going to give you all the logo files, all those different versions, a style guide comes with it, which ours does, all that kind of stuff, then suddenly 750 doesn't feel all that bad, because it's like, okay, I paid this person 250, but now I got to chase them down to try to get an all black version or do it myself in Canva, which is not possible, by the way. And so it's like that kind of stuff. It ends up being a little bit more costly, but you know, it's just one of those businessy things.
Yeah, I think as you are starting a business and realizing the things that you need, you don't really realize how long it does take
Y'all,
to
it
create a
takes
logo or the emotion, because all
time.
these things at the beginning, as you're building your business, your logo, your website, your style guide, the
Yeah,
copy that you have here, it all is so emotional and
it
really is what
is.
takes a lot of time and
It
is what
is.
is building your business. So that's why I asked
This
about
is business
the
develop.
logo
Like this
cost.
preparation stuff is business
Yeah,
development. And you know, and I think
yeah,
that sometimes people, you know, they find themselves trying to develop their business in their web design process, which is why sometimes it takes so long, because you're
yeah.
like, oh, do I want to offer that? Is this a service? Will my audience like this? If you can, you have to develop your business yourself. If you need business development help, I have resources for that. But once you get into your website development process, that's not really the time to be having those kinds of concerns, because then you're going to slow down that process, or they're going to come back and say, hey, we have to put you on pause. Our workload is too heavy. You know, we did this timeline and we built our other work with this timeline. And you have to be ready for stuff like that. So you try to do this kind of core work in advance. Make that that's an important first step.
Well, it doesn't look like there are any other questions. This was awesome and great, Jackie. Thank you so much. We will be sending out a follow-up email, and in that email, we will have a link to the video, and we will also have a way for you to get connected with Jackie, with Elevation Academy, and just a reminder of our upcoming events. Yep, there we go. And so please follow Forge, our work at Forge on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Follow Jackie, 1 Degree, Elevation Academy. And that way you can stay up to date on all of the things that we're offering, all of the great things that Jackie's offering, because I know I'll speak a little bit for Jackie, but definitely for Forge, like our greatest joy and greatest desire is to help your business grow. So the best way that we can help you is if you like are following us to see what we're offering. So, and also we would love feedback. If there's any certain topics that you would love for us to address, please let us know, and we would be happy to try to make that happen. So thank y'all.
I love you.
Yeah, thank y'all so much for joining. And
Happy birthday, Forge.
Oh yeah, to just celebrate our 3rd anniversary in business. So
once again, I'm not
so crazy.
It's fine, whatever.
Well, it was just me this year, so it was really sad. Times of COVID, right?
Yes.
But at least we have Zoom.
I can't.
So thank y'all. Yeah. Y'all have a great afternoon. Bye.